Привет из Дубая. С вами передача «Голубь мира», где разбираем крутые навыки. Спрашиваем на английском, отвечаем на русском. Подтягивайте язык или смотрите перевод в тайм-кодах. Let's talk about mind maps and let's start with the definition.
Maxim, to be honest, mind maps, this is maybe my less favorite skill in all schedule of School of Troubleshooters. Yes, I was reading books of Tony Buzan and so on, and I am quite fascinated by his abilities to remember large amounts of information and also his work with disabled people and so on. But to be honest, this mind maps or mind webs, this is less productive way how to remember something. If you are an engineer, if you are a project manager, maybe you will use something like tables to put your thoughts in. And the reason is because first the table will serve as a form, and then it will appear as a hint with content. So you will see the empty cell and you will understand I should fill it. But if you are working with maps, you will understand that you should do as many dots as possible and connect them in unusual way. Yes, it is maybe a good start for book, maybe for website, but not to memorize a large amount of informations.
And even though spreadsheets might be more efficient way to represent, analyze, and maybe making decisions, we're still looking into the mind maps as probably one of the alternatives. And maybe like for a specific audience, this might be the way to communicate information. So hence, it also will be good to map the landscape and see how exactly you can build it. Like what kind of things you need to put on the blank surface in order to deliver your message.
Yes, you're quite right. If you use this when you are talking with someone from marketing or maybe with I don't know, children garden, yes, it will work. So you'll put in a horizontal way a piece of A4 paper, then you will write in the middle of it main idea, and then you will make branches in different directions, and then you'll put nodes with less branches and leaves. And if you just start to describe something and you have no idea how to make it in a very schematic way, yes, it is okay. But if you are trying to do it for yourself and it is your habit to use it often, I am doubt that you will become a great leader or great expert.
And I probably could refer to that, especially like at the School of Troubleshooters. There were like a lot of examples when you actually build the model using just the Excel. And when I'm saying just, I don't mean that I want to diminish the value of the tool, but basically anything could be represented in a structured way. But maybe let's try to be a bit of like an advocate of the mind maps and see what might be the cases where they might be helpful. For example, it might be some sort of like a user flow or processes where, we don't need to spend a lot of time, but still can convey the idea or convey the message to the audience.
Thank you for your idea. Yes, let's to be in this movie advocates of the skill, and let's talk what is good in mind maps. First, this is an easy way for people who are humanitarian to write their thoughts down, because they when they will try to fill tables, they feel themselves very boring. This is too uncreative way for them. So they will be happy to use something like this. Second, if you will use some special sort of software, you will find that they are quite fascinated because they have branches of a different color. If you will use a lot of nodes on any branch, it will become thicker and so on. And when you will add branches or leaves, this mind map would be recognizing, so it would behave like a live organism. So you will see how your idea is growing, and maybe it's help. And one more reason to use mind maps, Tony Buzan was thinking that this is the way how our human brain remember information. So he was thinking, we have synapse, and this synapse is connected each to other, and any synapse could have so many legs, so you create as a person. So if you will use a lot of different branches, maybe you will find that some of them could be like main and some of them would be additional.
And when it comes to different ways or level to represent or convey the information, what kind of things we should be aware to actually build up on our initial skills?
First, you should try, because when you will see like someone, for example, you will do it in perfect way, for sure you will think, okay, I can make the same, but not. It is not easy to build table or to build mind map. You should have a skill, you have a habit, you have experience. If you will make it like 20 times, maybe you will be able to make it from the scratch for any person in the room. But if you are just trying to do it, suddenly you will understand that you have maybe 3 or 4 thoughts, but nothing more. So head is almost empty because we have no habit to organize our thoughts. You know, I have a meme which I like a lot. This is a picture. One girl is sitting and he has, I don't know how to say it, like облачко with thoughts.
Cloud.
Like cloud with thoughts, and it's similar to a lot of different threads of different colors. Nitki, threads?
Threads, yes.
Threads in different colors. But just opposite her is sitting another, maybe a bit old-fashioned woman, and she also had a cloud of thoughts, but maybe she is psychologist and she trying to put all thoughts from her opponent and making клубочки.
Probably just like a collection of the threads. Need to think about the word.
Okay, collection of the threads by different color. One like red, one like green, and so on. One person has a house of clouds, threads, but another has a very concrete division.
And actually, you mentioned an interesting analogy with the thread. So the way, for example, I would think of the mind maps is more about like you have objects and then you have a connection. But probably there is one thing that is missing is the depth of the object itself, because it could have like a different properties and maybe could have like a different types of the connections or any other dimension. So how mind maps could potentially solve this problem when we're talking about like what's inside the node itself?
If you do it by your hand, nothing will help you. For example, I'm using whiteboards with markers and write it down. And when I even made tables, it is a very hard job. And sometimes I redraw them like 3, 5, 7 times per one evening. But if you are using some kind of software to work with mind map, you could reorder. For example, you could divide your branch in 2, or maybe you will change the level. For example, leave from level 3, you will go to branch level 2, and so on. So to work with software, it's quite a game. It's quite pleasant.
And obviously, when people try to, like build very nice things, they might be, like falling into different types of traps. Maybe one that comes into top of my mind is spend more time on prettification rather than utilization of the things. So what are the things and problems they may be potentially running into?
First problem is leveling. Sometimes you couldn't understand, is it worth to go in top priority or not? Second is problem of scale. Some of branches have the same node, but the size of these nodes are like animal, like elephant, and microbe is very, or virus is very small. And third, people like to do something by themselves. You know, if you cook, for example, soup, or you cook some kind of a second meal, maybe you will like it because it is hot and was created by you. But if you will ask someone who is quite neutral to your cooking, or maybe anonymously, a lot of people will say, come on, I couldn't eat it. My mother or grandma preparing much better food. The same with mind map. Everyone who created it spent, for example, like 3 to 5 hours for the very first version. And everyone is thinking, come on, I am so clever, I finally made it. But everyone who has several educations, for example, technician, law education, or maybe economical, will think, what is it? What is this? So it's quite a mess.
And actually, when we think about, like by continuing of wearing our advocate's hat, maybe we'll try to think whether there is a still way to marry Excel, like a spreadsheet, mind maps, and maybe even like a slides or like a single document. And I do believe, for example, when you think of the database, probably it might be like a specific instance, like how exactly you connect all of the spreadsheets. But if you think about like possible, future improvements of the things, whether it will be like feasible to think that like we start with a mind map or we start with a single cell, but then it could actually grow into the maybe links, into the notes, into the spreadsheets, or maybe like a separate slide. So what will be the thoughts about this approach and the future of the mind maps?
Our viewers could be happy that you are our host and you all the time trying to say me, let's talk about positive way about mind maps. Okay, я сдаюсь.
I give up.
I give up and I'll make as you wish. Several times I was conducting speeches on some conferences, and I was using mind maps not because I wanted, because it was the request of people who organized this conference. It was TED in Las Vegas. They were asking me not to make this table, my tables, not too complicated, and suddenly they have a request, let's make it as a mind map. For sure, I couldn't resist because it was my dream to be a member of that team. So I said, okay, come on. But anyway, I was created a table, and when I was filling it out, then I was just rewriting everything with mind map. And yes, when I was comparing my table, it is very boring, too many digits with this spider, which is looking very fancy. I was saying, yes, okay, I should give up because this way to show something is much more productive.
Well, I do believe sometimes you still need to deliver your message, and you just need to find proper filters or maybe proper tools just to make it maybe like a slightly poor in terms of like a powerful, but like a quite vibrant when it comes to like a colorfulness and the formatting. My last question will be how knowing about the mind maps could help to make this world a better place.
I know a lot of people who use mind maps all the times, and some of them quite happy and write great books and so on. So if you are just starting to make organization of knowledge in your head, maybe it's a nice start, and maybe it could continue like 5 to 10 years. And if it will help you to write articles, to write books, to make speeches, yes, you should use it. But anyway, you should remember that this is, as Maxim politely was saying, that is a quite powerful, but not enough powerful tool. So you could improve your skills by switching to the tables after some time.
А мы рассмотрели навык интеллект-карты и чем он полезен именно вам. Всем мира!